Hey there, and welcome to YAS, a stripper podcast. On this podcast, we'll discuss how classifying each other as people and workers is dangerous to society and marginalized groups of people. We'll also talk about the climate in and outside of the strip clubs and all of the amazing things that strippers do. And of course, we'll talk about all of the things in between. I'm your queen, A.M. Davies, and this is YAS, a stripper podcast.
Hey everyone, AMD here, ready to tell you about a new and amazing guest. Had the chance to chat with Sonia, aka I'm Your Electric Girl, on Instagram. And Sonia is a union organizer for strippers over in the UK, originally from Poland. And she gave us a lot of insight about what's happening over in the UK. Kind of backing up what Gemma Rose was telling us in a recent episode titled "The Kraken is Coming for Us All." But it was really interesting hearing another perspective, but like a very similar perspective. But in this particular episode, Sonia is making the case for unionizing strippers and sex workers because the situation is getting worse and worse as time goes on. And there were a lot of similarities to what Sonia and her colleagues are dealing with as far as unionizing that some other union organizers here in the States have been dealing with. So, there's a lot to be done as far as like really making sure that people understand their rights, the rights that they're entitled to as workers. And you know, but I don't know how else to say it other than we really have to do the work, and we have to look at law, and we have to understand, because people for too long have taken advantage of the fact that the law can be really vague sometimes. It can be written in a really vague way, and it takes time and patience to read through this stuff and really understand it. And so if you would like to know more about unionizing, you can follow some unionized accounts, and you can even follow the PDX stripper strike, because they're talking a lot about what your rights are as well. That's a little different from unionizing. So I guess I say all of this to say, like, unionize or not, we need to advocate for ourselves because we're being oppressed and trampled on by management and by owners, specifically in the strip club. I mean, yes, of course, sex work in general, but in the strip clubs, that's where we have the most power to start unionizing or organizing or fighting back the most. So obviously there's also Strippers United, formerly known as Soldiers of Pole, and you can learn a lot there as well. So anyways, I don't want to talk too much. I want Sonia to do the talking. She does most of the talking in this episode, and that's because we had a lot to learn today. So without further ado, here is Sonia. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for today's episode because we are going to be talking about what's going on in a different part of the world with our guest, Sonia. But before we get to Sonia, I would like to remind you to please donate to Yes, a Stripper podcast, as we would like this to be a listener-funded podcast. To do so, you can go to paypal.me/yes, a stripper podcast. The majority of your money goes back into strippers' pockets retroactively and with new and current guests, trying really hard to pay everyone that we've had on in the past and that we're having on in the future. So that link one more time is paypal.me/yes, a stripper podcast. Let's meet Sonia. Hello, how are you?
Hi, it's a big pleasure to be here with you and share some stories and experience with all of you guys. So thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. And before we get started, can you let us know what your pronouns are?
Yeah, I'm she, her.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, Sonia, let's tell everyone, why you wanted to be here and where you're from. And we just want to hear your whole story because a lot of us in America don't know what's going on in your part of the world. So please fill us in.
Sure. So I'm a stripper. I've been dancing since 2012. I am originally I've been working, and I'm originally from Poland. Was working here for 4 years, and then I was for 4 years in London.
Okay.
I just got back from Poland, from London last year because of the pandemic, stopped working in the strip clubs because, COVID. Rebranded myself, do site domination work, but I also work full-time in call center now. And today I just wanted to talk with you about strippers and sex workers unions and collective, and wanted to give some tips and some background for people who are living in different countries and can unionize as well, why it is important, why we need unions, and why we basically, people working in sex work needs basic working rights.
Right.
So I know that worker rights are a bit different in US. I know this whole situation is not like clear comparison because you basically have contract, you just sign in, and basically this is your law that describes the way you're gonna work, how you're gonna work, for what and stuff. But basically in most countries in Europe, you've got like segments of different kinds of work, like worker status, independent contractor, employee. And this worker status is like a basic worker rights. When you have paid every work hour, you've got the right to national minimum wage, you've got right to holiday pay, sick pay, sick leave, maternity leave, you have rights to unionize, and you are protected from any whistleblowing. So in case something not all right happens in your work and the law is broken, you can basically sue the boss.
So can I ask you a question really quick? So there's like 3 different tiers is what you're saying? So there's
Yeah.
workers' rights, an employee, and an independent contractor.
Yes.
Okay.
So before we're going to launch into the topic in union, which
Sure.
is union for sex workers in UK, and before I'm going to tell you the story how we gathered together and how we started, just to give you the law perspective about most strippers working in UK. They're hired as the independent contractors. So the contract says you are paying your own taxes. However, to work in our club, you must work minimum this amount of days. You must wear this. You must change minimum twice at your shift. You must work minimum 1 Monday in a month. You must work every weekend. So we demand this and that. You cannot leave earlier. You can pay fine if, for example, you are late or doing something not all right at the club that we consider to be not all right. And you cannot just book your holidays whenever. You need to first discuss it with your managers.
As an independent contractor, they're telling
Yes.
you these things. Okay.
Yes. So
okay.
you've got all of this list in the contract defining how you're going to work, but also the same time the contract says that you are an independent contractor. So girls, people, usual women who work in the strip clubs, because most clubs in London I know are like women's strip clubs. There's only like one venue for trans people, which is Harpies, and it was just launched like a few years ago. So it's quite fresh place. So most clubs that hire people give this contract to sign, and they say that this is the law, you're in or you're out, and everyone believes that basically this is the truth, this is the thing they need to follow to work in a club. They just need to fulfill this condition. It's just like normal. So everyone believes this is how the work functions, that it's all like, legal, because where is the hack actually? So
Yeah.
what's the main problem with the contract is, as you pointed out and noted yourself, it's quite weird that they give so many different like demands and tell you that still this is the independent contractor. It's like a massive paradox. And also there is this gap in the law that actually this contract is like a regular contract for like any kind of like worker. So it qualifies in the law as a worker status because you need to fulfill certain things to work in this venue. Otherwise, you're gonna be not hired or you can be fired. So we gathered one time in May 2018, and people from United Voices of the World and Women Strike, the 2 big initiatives in London, wanted to gather sex workers together to build a union for everyone in the industry, and starting with unionizing strippers, because we are the least stigmatized group in the whole industry, and most, let's say, recognized to the extent that we can speak in public and not be judged or hurt. And it's, from the legal perspective and law perspective, much more easier to start with strippers unionizing than with anyone in the industry. Like when you do full service, and you know, most part of the industry is kind of like underground, or you cannot do certain things because you would put at risk yourself, your colleagues, person who hires you, who is basically working illegally.
Right, because you can't be out as a full service sex worker, and so there it makes your life more
Yeah,
dangerous, right? And so
yeah,
because stripping is legal, then you can be
yeah.
more in public. Yeah.
It's like you can be working as an escort as well. You can give full service. It is legal, but you cannot work in a brothel. You cannot work. So this is the abolition of sex work. So this is this kind of like model that like tells you, yes, your work is legal, but actually criminalizes three main things that are the source of your work, which is working at somebody's like agency or a brothel, like one on one call it, taking people from like public places, so like you know, taking
Transportation.
somebody, yeah,
Yeah,
off the
driving.
pub, club, street, or like working with your like friend, like, you know, running a business together, you know, in a house, for
Right.
example.
And so this is an example of the Nordic model, right?
Well, abolition and Nordic model are like quite close.
Okay.
Nordic model includes already abolition, but it also goes even like further, saying that they basically wanna even like forbade most of the things like in sex work, like, you know, having like contact with the customer. So Nordic model, I would say, goes even a step further.
Oh, okay.
So basically, strippers were already in a position when, you know, they work in clubs which are in, you know, daylight, you know, like underground. Their work is well known, less stigmatized than being full-time escort or whatever. So we already knew that starting with them, we can give power to the others, so we can build like a further group and get like more people who want to unionize. So our aim was to gather the most information about different types of clubs, what type of contracts they have there, started getting people from the clubs into union, explaining them the wrong thing about the contract, so we can fight for the worker status together. So we can get like a group, for example, of the people saying like, hey, this contract is not all right, you should change it, or I don't know, we all gonna sue you, you know. And we managed to have one of walk out of working venue example, when girls just decided they're not gonna work in a club, and they just like left one night.
They
And
did.
I
Wow.
think it was because the club was empty, but they were like pushed to like work or something. It was something ridiculous. Like girls were demanded to work, stay at the venue, and they just all decided they're just not gonna do it and just left, all of them. And union get involved, so you know, no one then get harmed, like, you know, they were fired or something. So we had like small situations like this. We were getting ready in 2018 for our big event, which was first sex worker strike, which was planned for 8th of March. And we were, you know, training others how to speak with people in the club, how to persuade them to join the unions. Like, for example, I was speaking with many colleagues in the club I worked, and mostly like girls were kind of scared. They didn't want to, you know, lose their jobs, for example. Some of them really didn't understand the worker status, and they said that they would lose their freedom. And I was like, you are already a worker because it's already in the contract, but the contract just classifies that you are an independent contractor. So you should have more rights, you should have more money, you should have more safety. But somebody is just taking away this for you because tells you you're actually, you know, self-employed.
Right.
So you can gain, you can't lose. But still, girls were feeling and thinking that this would lead to the situation that they will be only working on a minimum wage and hour paid time, like,
Yeah.
and then they won't have their provisions and stuff. They won't be able to book, like, holidays and stuff. And I was telling them, like, house fee should be even like a thing, the money to pay to the
Right.
club for a shift. This can disappear, but we need to just fight for it. But I often heard, like, no, this makes no sense. House fees will always stay. This is not even like a point like to change anything, because it's been functioning for so many years that um
Yeah, I mean, we experience the same thing here, and a lot of the things that you're saying about, like, well, I don't want to lose my job, or I don't understand why house fees, like, so much of what you're saying is very similar to what we hear here in America when trying to organize, because, like you said, the things that they've been doing year after year after year after year, and it's just become like a conditioning factor
yeah,
where we think that this is just okay and this is what it is, and now at this point in California specifically, it's getting so bad that like some of the dancers are reporting having to dance for free, having to give free lap dances because they have to, like, make up their own wages that the club is supposed to be paying them. So it just keeps getting worse the less we do anything about it, and
of
it sounds
course.
like the same thing is happening over there.
Yeah, I know, like, at some point, I'm not surprised, and I don't blame those people, because, they were told by the owners of the club that they are so lucky to work in the venue, that this venue is
Absolutely.
special, that they're special, that this venue is always busy, they will always have money, that they should, respect and praise their owner. And, it's such a ridiculous thing that, for example, in a Christmas time, when you spend more money, and, for example, when you need to work more, you are having higher house fees. Like, that was like classic thing in London. And then women from my club, they are starting to, like, save money, like, for like yearly present for the owner, £100 each. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, the owner of the club is giving us a dinner, not actually a dinner, but a drinks party, when she's just buying, like, alcohol for us, as if that was like something we cannot have enough already drinking alcohol at our, working
Right.
time. So, like, even no dinner, sorry, the dinner was just for staff, like, managers and bartenders.
Wait, they gave the
Um,
food to the staff and not to the dancers? And then the
yes,
dancers are trying to give the owner money gifts?
yes. So that was like a classic thing. And same thing was for her birthday, for manager's birthday. I was like, hey, nobody's celebrating my birthday. Like, nobody even, like, cares to, hey, happy birthday, whatever. But forget it. So what happened in 2018? I was fired from the club, which was quite surprising. And I obviously told this to the union, because the club forbade me to come to pick all my stuff, like, heels and things. And I was like, what's the fucking issue? Like, they
Yeah.
fired me, okay, but, like, why why can I not pick up my own stuff? And then we decided to open a lawsuit. We first wrote a letter, like, okay, listen, we think Sonia wasn't an independent contractor, but she was actually a worker, because your contract actually states this, da 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 da. They obviously deny it, so there was no chance for the settlement.
Mm.
And we're starting building up the case. And we knew it's going to be a long one.
Mm.
And the hearing was public. The hearing was in 2020 February, so last year.
Mm.
And we won.
Oh, good.
So the judge said, yes, she was a worker. Yes, she and all of the other women who are working in the club, they were workers. They still are. Hence, I should get my sick pay, holiday pay, and everything that was, like, included in a payment. And basically, the judge openly said that all of other dancers who are in the club are entitled to the same.
Wow.
So the union decided to have a meeting with the dancers, because obviously there was a like massive, like, shitstorm in, like, media, social media, because the union published the whole thing. There was some article in Independent UK. it was just like on the Women's Day. So it was quite, like win-win situation for sex workers.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like explaining why this win is so important for everyone in the industry, how it paves the way for everyone else in the industry who cannot actually raise their voices and fight for the rights because they don't have certain protection, they don't have certain rights, And here are the dancers from this club saying how awful I am and how union is shitting on the whole industry, trying to make their lives harder. So they decided to make the anti-union petition. so, the union decided to meet with them, explaining them like, listen, this is not something that we made up. Like in the face of the UK law, like you are workers, like this is already in the contract, And we were trying to explain this to them, but they still they believe so strongly in the fact that the story is like just made up, that we just kind of like persuaded them. So
Right.
obviously if they fought for the workers' right and joined the union during the COVID time now, when in UK all of the strip clubs are still shut down since over a year,
Right.
They could have something like 80% of the monthly earnings, yearly earnings. This thing that you have like national scheme for like independent contractors who lost their earnings, and
So they're giving you they're like
yeah.
giving you support, financial
Yeah,
support, the
like the
government.
government launched this
Okay.
thing for
Right.
independent contractors. So everyone who's like registered as a self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, they could have potential to even like hire like money, higher money. I mean, bigger money.
Yeah.
Because if somebody is not like registered as a self-employed, obviously they don't have a chance for the scheme. But they're not actually self-employed; they're workers, so they
Right.
must have something to cover them from their boss. So the boss needs to sort this out.
Right.
But no, they're like jobless, and I don't know what they do. And
Did the boss get money though? Because here in America, businesses got money to give to their workers. Did
I
that
have no
happen?
idea.
You don't
I
know.
have no
Okay.
idea.
So did any money from the government go to the dancers then?
So if you're registered as a self-employed, if you paid your taxes and you've got a proof that you've been working in the clubs or any venues as a self-employed, and like, you lost your job, you have no earnings, there was a scheme launched by UK government to help those people who are out of money, out of work. So the union actually managed to win another case. Sorry, they settled one of the case. They also helped two dancers for other clubs which were kicked out as well. And the girls went to the union. So the union opened the letters to those clubs owners, and they decided not to go the course. So they signed a settlement. So, the union could like help a lot to those dancers, basically fighting for their rights, something that not that they like deserve, but they should have, like it's like obligation, they have these things,
Right.
So the union is still functioning. During pandemic, we launched Cyberties, which you were participating in.
Yes.
So they find like loads of different like alternatives for strippers and sex workers in general to have some one-off time to earn some money by giving online show. So the party is really great event because you're just relaxing, sitting on a Zoom, watching performance, doing their things. You can tip, you can have private dances. So it's like virtual strip club.
Right.
And all the time we are trying to sort out any other issues in regards to basically political, let's say, situation in the clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I encourage everyone who is in UK to join this union because it's open for everyone in the industry. He doesn't like the person doesn't need to be still working. They can have like past experience in sex work. It's still fine. And basically we're evolving and we're growing, and this is cool because we're gathering people. But I think what kind of like pushes others away is that it is political, but things have to be political if you want to change certain law enforcements, because running a business is not about somebody wishes, and ideas like visions. It's all political because it involves the law. So the only way, to get what you get what you deserve, get what you are entitled to,
Right.
is just to literally like fight back, but using the same thing. And that's why I think political, opinions really matters and are important.
Yeah.
And you don't need to be super right or super left or central even, but in this conflict, when it's about workers' rights, well, you kind of need to be left wing. But I mean, like in general, like you need to know, like depends like on the, obviously, like the model of the law, which is like in every country. But just to fight for better conditions, you just you can't be like whatever.
Right.
So this is the kind of like short story I had about the union.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all that. So I'm gonna ask you some questions. So it's interesting to me that, because I've heard some anti-union speak from dancers here in the States, and not like signing a petition or like this anti-union movement where it's like a voice against the voice of the union. It's more like, I don't know about that kind of thing. But it sounds like there was sort of a coalition formed that was like, no to the union, and we're going to sign petitions and like verbally argue back. Like, what is their argument against a union?
So basically what they misunderstand and also misinterpret is the employee thing, independent contractor, and worker status. So in the face of UK law, you can be a worker and employee same time.
Okay.
So you can have a bit of flexibility, a bit of a freedom, and also basic rights, which is what I mentioned at the very beginning.
Right.
But they don't understand it, and they believe that if you're a worker, it means you lose all of other pluses when you're a self-independent contractor,
Right.
which is not necessarily true.
Okay.
And you can actually be both. So you could, for example, work in a club, being a worker and also an independent contractor. The only difference is that your tax difference a bit, but same time you are getting more money because you are having your minimum wage every hour paid, you have your sick leave and everything paid. And in the times when in so many clubs dancers are literally ripped off. In one club in London, girls have to pay house fee for every time they are off. So if they're booking holiday to go home, Christmas, whatever, they need to pay like, I don't know, £300 for all of these days off.
Wait. You're like blowing my mind right now. So you're saying if I'm like, I'm piecing out for Christmas to go visit my family and I'm a dancer, they're like, will you owe us money for that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And the dancers are like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm mind blown by that. Like, how bad is it going to be before a collective foot is put down?
This is the way that the machine goes. Like, they can just wash your brain so much that they just believe, it's normal, it's okay. Like, they have like apartments above the club. It's like club is protecting them, caring. There is always a job, there is always a shift. If somebody new comes and it's better fitter, we can keep them out because I want to be on stage the best still, but also, there are venues which, for example, will like agencies that book dancers to different venues and will like make you work like 15, 16 hours a day. I was working like that for a couple of months.
Wow.
I was working in one club in East London for like 5 hours. Mine, to get anywhere in London is like you need to just go like hour and a half with a tube and bus.
Right.
Then I was finishing my shift at 5, then I was going home. At 8, I was at the different club in Soho. And then I was finishing at 3 a.m. and I was home at 5 a.m. because I had to queue like, 1 hour for my £90 or whatever, because the club was also very expensive. And, like things like this happen and it's like so normal, and just like, people can imagine it's different because somebody has more power, and they don't believe, or they don't know there is somebody or some organization that could help them, and they don't know they're entitled to more. That's the problem. It's the same thing, like for example, here in Poland, we have only one collective that cares for sex workers, and they're called Sex Work Polska. And basically, they do everything from like legal stuff, like sorting like visas from people abroad, apartments, consultation with the lawyer, hygienist, self-defense, workshops, everything. And also run, campaign in medias, and, gathers on small demonstrations so we can educate the society. And people still shit on sex workers, and it's just like everyone uses their services, but still everyone denies it's a job. And maybe since like a decade, like situation, for example, of strippers is better because this was kind of like normalized, but still society has such a massive issue with sex, body, sexuality. It's either a taboo or a sacrum. And it's just like, sorry, I'm just losing my voice now, and I'm just speechless, because it's an absolute disaster. And medieval ages, what this society thinks of sex work, and like worst things are said by all of those who do full body work. And the industry is prospering all the time because we have loads of very famous escorts who are in the industry since years, and they survived the pandemic and they do well, so looks like everybody's like using the service, but everybody denies it, or just literally says worse things about it, and the people who do the job. So it's just like, situation here, for example, is that people who do the work are not talking about it because they're scared of stigma, hate, and being just pulled away by the family's friends, and even stigmatized by them. Like, I'm lucky, like my parents and my family, my closest friends, they know what I've been doing since first year of stripping. And they know about my activism and stuff. They're like super proud, but not everyone can even talk about think that they work in a strip club as a waitress, for example. I don't know,
Right. Yeah, not everybody has the same privilege to be able to. I have that
still
privilege,
like the
so
power.
I'm
Sorry
for
to
that.
say, it's just like it's just like the power of the society, how they just brainwash the people, so others cannot just fight for, it's not even fight, but just normally live, because others oppress them,
Right. Yeah. Wow. And, I've spoken to somebody, we spoke to Gemma Rose recently about some of the things that are going on over in the UK. And I was appalled at some of the things that she said. And, this is just backing up a lot of what she said. And, I asked our listeners in that episode, please go and sign the petitions and learn about what's going on over in the UK, because it's like you're fighting the same fight that we are here, but it's also very different, because of the laws, but also it sounds like your stigma is a lot harsher over there than it is here. Before I forget though, I wanted to ask, there was something that you had said about the minimum wage and how like some of the dancers thought like all they would be getting is the minimum wage and they didn't want that. And that was also a misconception here, that if we have employee status as strippers, that we would only be making $15 an hour. And that's a misconception. You would be making $15 an hour plus keeping your
Yes.
dance money plus keeping your tips. And so,
Yes.
is that something you also have to educate dancers over on your side of the
Yeah.
world? Yeah.
Yeah, we after this like first win in the court we had, I hope it's not, like one that we're gonna have for like ever, but it's just first, and there are gonna be many, many to come.
Yeah.
We launched like a small like Instagram and social media, like slide back showing worker status, what does it mean, and all of this like points explained, so people just don't mislead things and don't get tangled in the law, because I know it's the tricky thing is it's tricky language, and so many things sound similar, but they're completely opposite things. So it's good if you can have it explained in a very simple way, which we managed to do. And the unionists keep getting more people. We now have like a whole committee of people who do like social media, caring, recruitation. We have like special like districts like in the whole like country. So we are like saying like this people handles people from north, this one is from south, this one is for
That's
this area in
great.
London. So it's like getting like more and more organized, which is like so cool, because it's like we are getting control over the job and the industry, which is actually functioning only by us. And this is, I think, my ex-boss just fucked herself up in the court, saying like, yes, the dancers are just needed in the club. Without them, there is no business. We cannot
Right.
function without theirs. And I was like, yes, you cannot.
Yes.
So I think this is the main thing, like you run the business and it's thanks to you, the club has money for the bouncer, for the waiter, for the banter, to keep this whole club as a building, so you are having all power, you are making money for everyone in this place, so you need to have some respect and basic rights.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Can you share with us what the union is, the name of the union, and
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I didn't
No,
say
it's
the most
okay.
important thing. So it's United Sex Workers. We have the website United Voices of the World. It's the main branch of the union, which gathers the workers from the industries like uh, bar, gastronomy, hospitality. So all of those people that work on like self-dependent contracts. So
Okay.
it's covering loads of like different work specifics and jobs. And there is a special one for sex workers called United Sex Workers. I will of course send you all of the links and resources so you can put it like in a bio.
Yeah, and do you work with East London Stripper
Strippers
Collective
Collective, yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's their role in the unionizing
So
process?
union is built up, I didn't say it, is quite important. Union is built up from many like different collectives in our organization. So we have East London Strippers Collective, we have English Collective of Prostitutes, we have Swarm Agency, we have the Cream now, a couple of other as well, crosstalk projects. So all of them, they are like advocating for decriminalization, full decriminalization of the work, fighting with the stigma, educating the society in one way or another. Isla Strippers Collective has been running so many different events like parties, live drawing events. They now have online drawing events, and basically putting up loads of different shows to educate society about the job, make the people meet with the real strippers so they can speak with them, learn something about their job and their life, and take the stigma away.
Yeah.
English Strippers Collective does the same, but for full sex body workers.
Right, right. I love that you call them full sex body workers. I really, really like that, because that is what it is. It's working with human bodies, and so it just makes it, I don't know, it's touching to me. I really like that phrase a lot.
We had this discussion in the union a lot, because so many strippers don't want to be identified with a sex worker term. and they kind of like don't understand this is like umbrella for all of us, and it
Right.
unites everyone in the industry doing different stuff. Like, doesn't matter if you're a cam girl, if you are on a chat, if you are, you know, a photo session model, doesn't matter if you're a dominatrix, doesn't matter what you do, you are still, you know, working with body, with sexuality,
Right.
eroticism. So this is not something like, my friend gave me once a good example. When you're dancing naked for a dude, he doesn't think about the cookies or like, you know, Tesco. He thinks about fucking you. That's obvious, you know. Doesn't matter if he's looking at your legs or your face. He's thinking about sex. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, you know.
Yeah.
And that's a good, like, simple example to, you know, imagine what's going on in their heads. And you know, all industry, all sex industry is about it. Doesn't
Right.
matter if it's like entertainment or full body service. Like, for example, in domination, you don't have like full body encounter until, I don't know, you peck someone, right?
Right.
But still, you know, it's a form of like sex, right?
Right.
Doesn't involve like, you know, maybe like even a touch or anything,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
still evolves around, you know, sexuality. So, and it's super arousing. So
Right. And what's so bad about the word sex, everyone?
yeah,
What's so
yeah,
bad about that word?
yeah. That was a very like sad thing I saw after the court case, that when we were trying to explain to the girls from the club I used to work, that uh, we gather lots of different sex workers, that we strippers are needed so others can, you know, come through and, you know, raise their voices as well. And you know, people were saying, oh, I'm a stripper, I'm not some kind of a hoe, I'm better, like, you know, I'm cleaner, like stuff like this. And I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
It's not only that, you know, you put others like on some sort of a ladder, but you know, speak about different women like that, people, it's just like disgusting. It's,
Yeah. It's
yeah, I would call it like,
whorephobia.
yeah, it's
Whorephobia.
pure
Yeah.
phobia. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, we must help others break
yeah,
free from the whorephobia that they've been conditioned to believe is a moral thing.
yeah,
And we have been conditioned by media and religion and books and
yeah,
examples of older people that we looked up to. We have been conditioned from birth to believe that you are better than somebody else because
yeah,
you don't do with your body what they do with their body.
yeah,
Yeah. So we must break free from the whorephobia. I want to
totally.
I want to say slash ask one last thing before we move on. The East London Collective, the East London Stripper Collective, was responsible for and active in working with FKA Twigs
Hmm.
in doing a takeover on her Instagram. And you know, thank you so much for doing that work, to you and all of your colleagues, because that was massive. You know, it was a really big deal.
Thank you for that. I think it's appreciated. I think the opinions are divided as well, which I'm
Right.
not kind of like surprised,
Mm-hmm.
because you know, the discussion that was had with her was
Mm-hmm.
taking so much time, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, she was doing what she was doing for so long. So uh, we had good timing with it, because we
Mm-hmm.
had like very great news to pass over.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that we didn't think about it earlier on to start the conversation when the
Right.
video, for example, was released.
Right.
But hey, after all, we did it. So
Yes.
I'm happy that it helped to broke some stigma, and I'm happy she passes some money because she's fucking rich. So
Yeah. 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 So thank you. A lot of us saw some of her posts recently, and it was like a 180 from how she was posting before. And you know, it's one day at a time, one celebrity at a time, one
yeah,
obstacle at a time. Like that was a win. So
it breaks a lot. I think, you know, like other also, like, you know, other celebrities can learn. And you know, there was like
yeah.
so much shit later on with OnlyFans and Ben platform. So
Yeah, yeah. We could talk for hours about
yeah.
that.
Want to be fabulous just like these strippers? Pay attention. It's Stripper Tips.
Okay, first thing, like backing up what I was saying earlier on, remember that you're not alone, and there are people and organizations who will support you and will help you. And don't let anyone tell you that your work is not valuable, that you are not a valuable person, that your work is not needed, that your job is not a job, that you should get a better job, that you should do something different. Like, don't let them tell you this, because they all use the service, but they just want to undermine you and yourself. So just never listen to it. And remember, there are organizations, there are collectives, there are unions as well now. And if you can, just look it up in the internet, try to speak with somebody. But I hope everyone who's like working in the industry now, they have sources like internet, so they can Google it.
Yeah.
And they can find it on Facebook, on Instagram as well. Other tip would be, if you're a stripper, remember this job is not about being a good dancer. It's a big plus, but it doesn't guarantee you being a good stripper. So remember to have patience and be communicative. So try to listen, kind of read people and settle into their needs.
Get ready for our rapid fire question round. It's time for 4 for 1.
Question number 1. What celebrity would you want to party with?
Party with? I don't know why, but Johnny Depp came into my mind.
Johnny Depp, okay.
As the first one. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I chose him like now, but I think like, like he's quite famous for like partying and like, drinking and doing other stuff. And but actually no, if I chose now I chose my favorite DJ. He's not like big celebrity though, but I would like to party with I Hate Models.
Okay, cool. Yes. Did you ever get drunk, order something online, and forget all about it until it arrived?
No, never.
No, me neither. Yeah.
Once I got fucked up with the addresses, and I got food into the door of the guy I had one night stand with. And
oh, no.
I just realized when the deliverer was like, your food is by the door. And I'm like, where is it? And I just realized that the address was.
Oh, no. Would you rather live on the moon or on a starship orbiting the Earth?
A starship or what?
Would you rather live on the moon or a starship circling the Earth?
Starship circling the Earth.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would like, but on the other hand, like traveling around the same place all the time,
yes,
or being
correct.
stuck in one place all the time.
Right.
Depends how big and luxury the starship is.
That's a good point.
Otherwise, maybe rather than moon, so I can build my imperium over there.
That's a good point. Last one. What's your favorite after sex snack?
I think it's cigarettes. It's not a snack actually, but I think cigarette is always a good idea. Yeah. And if I'm not smoking, then I would say pizza.
Okay. Good. Oh man, great answers. I love it. So I just want to remind all of our listeners one more time that we are trying to make this a listener-funded show, working on some advertising and sponsor things. But you know me, I'm really picky. They have to be ethical brands. I won't advertise with just anyone because I hate capitalism. So if you love this show and you would like to donate, you can find us at paypal.me/yes a stripper podcast, and your money goes towards paying strippers who have been out of work for a long time and paying your hosts who work for free. One more time, paypal.me/yes a stripper podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who's been donating. Really appreciate you. Sonia, you have to tell everyone where we can find you and follow you and sign petitions if we need to.
Right. So I've got my Instagram page, which is I'm Your Electric Girl. I've got Facebook with the same name. And I've got Twitter, which is Electric Girl 666. And if you are into BDSM and domination, I have my BDSM kind of thing Instagram, which is Madame_Electric. And as for the union, we have the Instagram as well, which is United Sex Workers. And the website I already said, it's www.uvw UK. Shit, or maybe it's the wrong address. But actually, this one I will just need to send. But if you type
Send
in
me a
Google,
link. Yeah.
United Sex Workers UK, you will get there.
United Sex Workers UK. I'm
Yeah.
Your Electric Girl Insta, and then we can find all the links probably on your
Yep.
Insta. So yes, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very important that we all stay connected and understand that we're all sort of being oppressed the same way, in
Yeah.
some ways different, but all over the world, sex workers are being oppressed. And I just am so honored and grateful for you to be on the show today. So thank you so much for being here.
I'm super happy that I was invited, and I'm super happy to get connected with you. You're
Yes.
amazing star. I'm watching your jobs as well,
Oh, thank
So
you.
yeah, we activists and we strippers stay connected as
Exactly.
always.
Exactly. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Find a new show every Wednesday on YASAstripperpodcast.com. See you later. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. This episode has been a production with Period Podcast Network. Find out more on Instagram at Period Podcast Network. Be sure to follow us on Instagram too at YAS, a Stripper Podcast, and you can find us on Twitter at YAS, a Stripper Pod. Please like, subscribe, and rate YAS, a Stripper Podcast here on YouTube. See you next week.